Yeah, it's the case. And if you thought that I was done or that I was going somewhere, until they come get me, the key shall be there. And I'm not alone. I got a guest with me today. Well, not with me, but they on the phone. Shouts out, Alexander.
Yep, damn straight.
That's my homeboy, Alexander. He on my Facebook page. Some of you may know him. We did some theater activities over at the downtown library here in Syracuse. And today we're going to talk about a lot of different things. It's a lot that's happened since the last episode of Quis Qouch. Apparently, some individuals did not find my topic of anti-facultism to their liking, although I think that they did not watch the episode, because if you watched anti-facultism, you'll realize it was just a discussion on procreation and life, and it wasn't an anti-gay video any more than it was a pro-gay video. It was just pro-truth, or at least pro-perspective. That being said, no hard feelings to the group of poets that I helped co-found here in Syracuse that summarily kicked me out with a get the fuck out. I was told deuces to leave because I chose to share this video on a forum that I also helped to develop on Facebook. But that's neither here nor there. No sour grapes. I can say a lot, and I may in the future say more. But Alex, I didn't want to bring you into that negativity. Always with Quis Qouch, I'm looking to do something more positive, enlightening. You see my shirt, Give Life. It's backwards, but has a nice pair of life-giving apparati. Yep, and with my gut, the boobies look bigger. But no, Alex, we were in a really good conversation. I also want to do a review of this book by Laurel K. Hamlin, Hitless. It's the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series. We'll get into that in a little bit. That was an excellent book. But Alex, what we were talking about is about group consciousness and life and humanity. And do you remember the last point we made before we started the video?
Yeah, what was the drive to make people set themselves aside from others in terms of shared consciousness?
Well, I think that, a lot of this as I go along, and I reach within myself for truth, and having somebody else, such as yourself, Alex, it allows, me to have a sounding board and vice versa for you to develop the ideas you've been wrestling with. But when it comes to individuals, we all as people have the same basic needs, and there's so many more similarities. You talking to somebody else?
No, I'm right here.
Well, let them know you on Quis Qouch. This is history in the making. They can't be interrupting, the train of truth. We ain't making no stops until we get there.
This is a straight ahead.
Yeah. No, but the point is, like, all of us have to eat, shit, and sleep. Sex and hunger and a need to be warm and comfort. All that stuff is so ingrained in every person that the idea of, he or she is bad or they're different, that's an illusion. In reality, we're more similar than different, and that seems like it should be common sense, but it's so easy for people to say, that pedophile or that rapist or that serial killer or that thief or that lazy bum, they're nothing like me. But I think that all those elements exist within us, and we're all just at different levels of development as we move through this path called, humanity, the human experience, human condition. So individuality, I think that, we're talking about the Emperor's New Clothes and how collectively we're all buying into the illusion that the Emperor is not naked. But then there has to be the individual that says, you all are batshit crazy, that motherfucker ain't got no clothes on. And at the end of the day, individuality allows the whole group to move forward when someone has the audacity to be different, to go against the grain, but at the same time, simultaneously, we all have to move together, So one person can represent innovation and leadership, but only because that one person is participating in the same experience that everyone else is. It's like taking a test, and it's the first person who finishes the test. They get it. So if you didn't have that one little, plucky person, usually it's me, who jump up and like, I'm finished first, that made everybody else like, oh shit, let me hurry up. There is a end in sight. This test can't be completed. Like, everyone is just racing to get all the answers first. And you have a responsibility to disseminate that information to the masses. But it happens, I think, regardless if you do it consciously or actively. I think we all just are tied in. So when one person gets it, the rest of us start to get it, like waking from a dream.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, we don't want to be assimilated. Pretty much, we don't want to lose our shared identity.
No.
In the sense that that's in a way we should be striving to understand and gain a shared identity, so we don't condemn, we don't judge, we don't discriminate.
It creates borders, or organizing principles. It allows us to differentiate between right and wrong. But it's tragic that we're so quick, like you said, to judge individuals who we know good and goddamn well they're elements of ourselves. It's like being homophobic when in actuality you're homosexual, or you have those urges that you hate so much that any outside manifestation of it you destroy. And I see that when people are demonized or criticized, it's like, come on, man, get the fuck out of here. You hating because that individual stirs something within you. Why are you so anti anything except for like xenophobia? I don't understand. Like, I hate Muslims. Well, obviously there's not a secret Muslim inside of you. Maybe there's something that the Muslims represent. The unknown, maybe.
Yeah, it's just a growth in a different way, explained in a different way. Fear causes us the drive to separate from each other.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up fear, because you remember moments ago we were talking about fear and how my way of living life is when fear tries to creep in and encroach on my choices, whether it's the noise in the dark or the group of thugs on the corner and, oh, do I gotta cross the street? Hell no, I ain't crossing the goddamn street. I'm gonna walk right. Excuse me, bro. How you doing? Yeah. No, because you can't let fear of your own happiness, of your own well-being control you. And that's unfortunate. What a lot of people do is fear that voice in your head that I told you earlier. I look at that voice and I say, listen, you little punk ass, bitch ass motherfucker, calm the fuck down. Stop making my heart pump all fast. Sit the fuck down somewhere. We're gonna be all right. Okay, I got this. 30 years old. Clearly I know how to, get from A to B without dying. So what the fuck? And I think more people need to talk to their little bit like that. That's just what it is. Like, especially if you're a man the fuck up. There are no strong women, only weak men, which provides a good segue into the hit list. Now, this is probably the most ghetto bootleg book review that you will ever receive, but I think there's a certain charm to it. So, Alex, I'm going to read you a few passages that I outlined in order to exemplify why this is such an amazing series. Now, real quick before we go further, Laurel K. Hamilton, this author I have like the hugest crush on intellectually and physically, of course, because she's gorgeous, and her character, I feel like, both her main protagonists, Anita Blake, the vampire hunter, and Mary Gentry, the fairy princess. I feel like the author has put herself in both of these strong female protagonists, but intellectually, her writing skill is it's amazing. So, real quick, Anita Blake. Long before there was Twilight and True Blood, there was Anita Blake, Vampire Hunter. But after Anne Rice, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so she fits in the middle. But certainly, modern day vampire series that are insanely popular and well done. I love True Blood. I liked Twilight, although the book series was anticlimactic, but that's a whole nother blog if necessary. But Alex, Anita Blake she's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer mixed with Dirty Harry. She's badass and she hunts vampires in St. Louis. But right on the cover,
so no regrets then.
You said no regrets?
Yeah, no regrets.
As far as what?
As her character goes, does she have no regrets of what she does?
Oh no, she's riddled with regrets. That's what makes her dynamic. I'm glad you mentioned that. You probably can't get on the camera, but there's a quote from Charlene Harris, who actually wrote the Sookie Stackhouse, books in which True Blood is based on. And it says, Hamilton remains one of the most inventive and exciting writers in the paranormal field. Now, real quick, this is the thing about Anita Blake. Anita Blake is a woman in her 30s. She's she raises the dead for a living. She's not a detective, but she works for an agency that specializes in raising the dead. But she also works for the U.S. Marshal Service. She's a vampire executioner, and she works as part of the preternatural branch. Say that 5 times fast. Of the U.S. Marshals. So she's a lot of different things. She's a vampire slayer. She raises the dead. And throughout the series, she develops a relationship with the master vampire of St. Louis, Jean-Claude, as well as the hit werewolf, of the St. Louis werewolf group, the Pack, and Richard. And then throughout the 20 plus novels that this series has, I should have had this all together. But the first book is Guilty Pleasures, and there's about 20 books. Throughout the series, which started, I believe, in 1997, Anita Blake has kicked ass, chewed bubblegum, and taken names. She's bad as hell. She gets more and more powerful. She has more lovers. The series has a lot of sex, which I love. A lot of violence, and there's always good mystery in each novel. And it's just the writing is so great because she has so much power, but she does have regrets for the fact that she has to put a bullet in the head of, ex-lover because they just happen to be a psychopath, weird leopard. Or she has to take out people who have been possessed, and she's always in her head, agonizing over every decision, whether or not she herself is a monster, and she becomes insanely powerful throughout the series. At one point, she's able to raise an entire cemetery and use them as a force to go after her attackers. She's tied to the master vampire and have all kind of super strength and speed. She develops a sexual vampirism called the ardeur, which she feeds off of sex, and she can like suck people's souls. She's badass, and she's like 5'3". She loves coffee. She's just her as a character. She's very endearing, and I love her. She's my favorite, pop culture character, hands down. This is my favorite series. And so let me give you a couple of snippets. Now, Edward is a character that trained Anita to be this badass vampire slayer. And he's like ex-military. He's a human. He has no supernatural abilities. But he's just the scariest, the baddest motherfucker on the planet. The vampires call him Death.
Wow.
And they call Anita the executioner. But here's a line from the book in regards to Olaf, who is a psychopath, serial killer, but also an important mercenary who Anita and Edward, they call from time to time, along with Bernardo, to go on hunts for really dangerous werewolves or weird leopards or werewolves, or there's pretty much weird everything in this world. There's actually weird swans. But weird bears, weird rats, yeah. Here's the line. If Olaf did to you what he's done to some of his other victims, Edward would drown the world in blood to try to erase those images. What you think?
Wow.
What you think about that?
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and he's not even fucking her. Like, he trained her, he loves her, he respects her. And Olaf, one of his victims, it was a prostitute who he had flayed her skin and chopped off parts of her body, and she was just a meat bag that was on the bed, chained and whimpering and still alive.
So we're talking about like a Kill Bill relationship between Bill and Uma Thurman's character, pretty much like the master and the apprentice.
The thing is that, in a sense, but Edward is not as sadistic or tragic as David Carradine's character was. He's not an asshole. He's just a straight badass who is unapologetic in that fact, And the relationship is similar in some regards, but it's a mutual respect relationship. And I love the way that Laurel wrote that line and expressed that sentiment. We got about a minute and a half of video left. Let me see if I can find some other great lines. At one point, there was a reference to Harry Potter because they couldn't name the villains of this particular book, the Harlequin. Because in this book, there's a series of serial killings of targeted weird animals. And at this point, the greatest villain in the whole Anita Blake series, the Mother of All Darkness, who happens to be an African vampire, she wants to possess Anita. And so she's a lot throughout the series of these novels in order to try to take over Anita, because Anita's the first succubus in modern history. We got about 30 seconds, so I could go on, and unfortunately I didn't go on as I could for a book review. Read The Hit List by Laurel K. Hamilton. Alex, you would definitely love it. It includes the best elements.
I go to the library, this week and pick the first novel up.
Your pleasures, I'm telling you. Circus of the Damned is the first one I read. I just picked it up on a lark about 10 years ago or so, and I loved it, and I went back and read the earlier ones. Circus of the Damned is where the action picks up. These books are freaky, but there's a great story. As always, it's a pleasure. We're going to have to do another video where we get into some more issues, but out there watching this, I appreciate the support. I ain't going anywhere. Alex, last word?
I appreciate being on. This is an awesome ability to do this with a very talented person.
Thanks. We out. Peace.